Hello and welcome. On today's show, we're going to be discussing about the Voter ID campaign, which is led by the Greater London Authority, the GLA. Now, this campaign is about helping and supporting Londoners to access their democratic rights to vote in elections. Today, we're joined by representatives from the GLA and campaign supporters who are helping Londoners to understand the impact of voting changes. This will ensure that eligible Londoners register to vote, as well as raise awareness that you will need an accepted voter ID to vote in person as part of your democratic right to vote. And joining us on the show today, we have Dr. Elisabeth Pop. Elisabeth is the GLA Principal Officer for Active Citizenship and Democratic Participation, so coordinates civic and democratic participation at London City Hall and across London. And then later on the show, we will have Bishop Mark Nicholson to hear why it's important to register to vote. Dr. Elisabeth, thank you very much for coming on the show. Can you tell us more about the GLA's Voter ID campaign?
So I'm very proud to say that the Greater London Authority, also known as London City Hall, we've launched an unprecedented campaign to make sure that all eligible Londoners are aware of their civic and democratic rights. This is very important because there is a new piece of legislation called the Elections Act 2022, which has come into force, and it has introduced for the first time in British elections the need to show an accepted form of photo voter ID. So basically, if you do not have this form of photo ID, you will not be able to vote in upcoming elections, which includes the 2nd of May Mayor of London and London Assembly elections, any local or by-elections, or the upcoming general election, which we know will have to happen at some point. And it's important to stress that this is a pan-London campaign, non-party political. We're working with all the London Borough Electoral Services and with over 200 civil society organizations, because it's everyone's duty to make sure that we raise awareness and every eligible Londoner has the information.
I mean, a lot of people are averse to change. And, you know, some people watching particularly from our community will be thinking, why the change? Can't it just be how it used to be?
Well, Parliament has voted the legislation. The legislation is in place, and it's my duty as a civil servant to make sure that every single Londoner is aware and can exercise their fundamental rights. So that's why we are speaking to your viewers. We are doing radio. We are in community places across London, in places of worship. You will see us on billboards. We really want to raise awareness.
Can all Londoners register to vote?
So if you are a British Londoner, so if you have British citizenship, or a Commonwealth Londoner or a EU Londoner, you will be able to register and vote. And remember, there are quite a few elections coming up, not just in London, but also the UK and even around the world. So this year is a big year for democracy. I am a proud British Romanian, and when I grew up and I was born in Romania, I remember not being a democracy, right? We were an authoritarian regime. My parents and my grandparents were so happy when they had the freedom to vote in a free election in 1990. So for me now to be in London, I really don't want any Londoner to take our democracy for granted. You have a fundamental right. Your voice matters. So please make sure, if you're eligible, register to vote. There are so many benefits. Not only can you make a difference in your community, in our great city, London is the greatest city in the world, in my opinion, but you can make a difference in so many other ways. You can influence policy from education, health, justice, anything you care about. But also on a personal level, if you are registered to vote, you can improve your credit score. So if you want to apply for a new phone contract, or one day you might be able to, apply for a mortgage, being on the electoral roll will help you improve your credit score. And finally, the electoral roll is also where the juries are picked. So if you want to be part of jury service and thus help bring about fairer verdicts, you need to be registered to vote.
And what age do you have to be able to register and vote?
I really want all Londoners, but especially young Londoners, to know you can register at the age of 16. And all research shows the sooner you engage with the democratic process, the more likely you are to be heard and then to keep on engaging. So register at 16, but remember, you have to be 18 on the day of the election to actually be able to vote.
So you made mention that now you need your photo ID to vote in person. What forms of photo ID will be accepted?
One of the things that Londoners tell me again and again in the last year since I've launched this campaign is that they don't know what forms of photo ID will be accepted. So I really want you to know that you only need one of these forms, and you need to bring with you the original form of ID, not a copy on election day. So do not panic. If you have a passport, from a British passport, a Commonwealth passport, or a EU passport, you have a British or EU driving license, if you have an Oyster 60 Plus photo card, a blue badge, a Freedom Pass, all of these forms of ID will be accepted. And if you don't have any of them, for a number of reasons, there is a way to get a free voter authority certificate. You just need to Google it, and the government websites will show you all the steps. Just have a digital picture, you will get at home an A4 piece of paper with your name and your photo, and you can use this free voter authority certificate on the day of the election.
Just to be clear for our listeners and viewers, can you talk a bit more about the steps they need to take to vote?
So first and foremost, do not forget to register to vote. If you are an eligible British, Commonwealth or EU Londoner, you can register to vote. It takes just 5 minutes. Secondly, if you want to vote in person on election day, and as I said, the next elections are on 2nd of May for the Mayor of London and London Assembly, then you need to make sure you have an accepted photo voter ID. Do not panic if you don't have one. You can apply for a free voter authority certificate. And then finally, your electoral services in the Borough Council should send you at home a polling card. This is a piece of paper, usually A5 size, which tells you when is the day of the next election, when will the polling station be open, usually 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., and what is the address of the polling station, so you know where to go. So remember, register to vote, make sure you have photo ID, and go out and vote, because your voice matters.
Is there a deadline to register to vote or apply for postal and proxy voting?
I would first of all say don't leave it too late. If you've heard this, please make sure you're registered at your current address. Please share your information with family and friends. But if you do want to know the deadline to register to vote is 16th of April. Now, not all of us might be able to vote in person on the day of the election, so on 2nd of May, for example. If you're ill, if you're out of London, you can apply for a postal vote. That means that you need to fill in another application, and you will be sent your letter at home, including your ballot paper. Make sure you apply for the postal vote by 17th of April. And again, you can also send someone to vote on your behalf, and that's called a proxy vote. The deadline for the proxy vote is the 24th of April. I will add one piece of information. If you decide to send someone you trust on your behalf to vote as a proxy voter, please make sure to tell them they will need to bring their own photo ID to vote on your behalf. The really good things that this new piece of legislation has introduced more privacy. So if you're wearing, for example, a mask for health reasons, or if you're having a head covering for religious reasons, you can ask for your identity to be checked in privacy. Now, not all electoral staff will need to ask you to remove this face covering, because they will see the picture on your photo ID and they will be satisfied that your identity is who you claim to be. But if not, you have the right to ask to have your ID checked behind the privacy screen, and every polling station should have one. And in that setting, you can even ask for a female member of staff to check your identity. At the end, you should have access to a mirror to be able to adjust your appearance and then get out back in the polling station.
How can they trust that their personal information will be kept safe if they apply for voter authority certificate?
So we already discussed that privacy is really important in a polling station, but so is, as you said, safety and security. So you can always, when you register to vote, or if you're already registered, you can ask your electoral services to remove you from the open register. That is basically a list of all the people who are registered in a locality, and once you are removed from there, no one can have access to your name and address except for electoral services, who, what we discussed, send you the polling card. But if that's still not enough, and unfortunately we have levels of domestic violence in London, so if you're worried about your safety or the safety of someone in your household, you can also apply anonymously to register to vote, which is another layer of safety and security.
And where can our listeners and viewers go to find out more information about the photo ID and the campaign as a whole?
I'm very proud to say that we have in London a big democracy hub. The address for this is www.registertovote.london, and we have co-designed resources with all our communities, especially underregistered ones. So you'll find there information about voter registration, photo voter ID in 15 community languages. You'll find information in easy read, in British Sign Language, print resources for those who don't have access to any piece of IT, but also videos, animations, and even political literacy resources if you want to use them in any education setting. So visit www.registertovote.london.
Dr. Elisabeth Pop, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, and I really hope that everyone gets this information, they share it with family and friends, and they exercise their democratic rights, because London won't be the same without your voice.
Bishop Mark Nicholson, thank you for coming on the show. I guess the first question will be, a man of God, why are you supporting this campaign?
This campaign must be supported because it gives us an opportunity to use our vote and use it correctly and not to lose it. And also as a minister, as an influencer, let's say, I want to make sure that I guide the people that I speak to and know in the right direction to use their vote. And so this campaign is the way to go.
Thanks to technological advancement, there's a lot of debate online where people question when it comes to election or voting. What about the ones who hold the view that nothing changes? What's the point of voting?
Well, it does. And the reason why it doesn't change, I would say, is because they don't vote. And oftentimes, that's the complaint. Nothing happens. But if you stop them and ask them, did you take your democratic right to vote? They'll just say that. Oh, waste of time. But if they made that effort and used the time to vote, they might have a different story. Who would know that by voting, it improves one's credit score? They may think, is that great? Yes. You'll be on the electoral roll, maybe even credit. They'll be able to look you up, and also maybe an opportunity, if you are interested, to serve on the judiciary. Voting opens up so many doors for the individual. Just to name a few of those things I just mentioned. This is from my personal view. Most people from my congregation, and maybe our older congregation, may have thought, if they want anything to be done, it's a clasp of hands and they say, Lord, do something. I accept that. But I believe there's two units working together, our prayers and our faith, and actually moving towards action. Put those two combinations together, you will actually see a complete difference. And so I use my pulpit, not just to bring a word of encouragement, but bring the stark realities that if change needs to be made, it's going to have to be us. And if we're being given this right, you know, many people in the world are fighting for this right just to put a yes or a no in a box. But here we are in a country that it is our right. Let's do our best not to lose it, but to use it. And I use the pulpit to show them you have a right. Many would give their left arm for it. Vote, because it will make a difference.
Have you heard about Voter ID? You now need a photo ID to vote in elections.
You might already have one.
A UK or EU passport or driving license.
A 60+ Oyster photo card.
Or a Freedom Pass.
And if you don't have one,
You can apply online for a free Voter Authority certificate.
Search registertovote.london for more info.
Remember,
no vote, no voice.